Welcome everybody. I'm Cyril from HG IT Consulting. And today I'm going to be engaging in a presentation about our business and all of the aspects surrounding it with my partner Shamir, who is present by my side. Today's presentation is going to be delivered in a video format in order to maximize its effectiveness. So at various points during this presentation, I will pause the video and take questions, or we will take feedback from the audience as needed. So to start off, I'm going to give you a quick overview of what we're going to cover in this presentation. There's only 3 parts. It's going to be a relatively short presentation, and I'm going to try and make it to the point on every single slide. So the first part is, ta-da, why should you care? Now, why should you care? I think this is the most important aspect to address. Like, why should you care about a company? What is HGIT Consulting? Why should you care about us? How can we actually help you in a tangible way? I think that's the most important thing you want to know if you're going to have a look at our presentation. The second thing is going to be, what do we do? How can we help your business? On the technical side of things, what services do we offer? And on the third part of this presentation, I'm just going to talk about our processes. And this is going to be a very, very, very short and very meta overview of our processes because they differ case by case. So who cares, right? Well, I don't think I need to pull out any statistics here to convince you that the world right now, at least China and its main trading partners, the US and European countries, have been experiencing a mild recession, if not a full-on recession, or what you would call, market contraction at any rate. And if you've been in a business, for example, import-export, or, manufacturing, or any of those areas, you probably have felt the pinch, or you probably know somebody or know of somebody whose business has taken a hit because of it. And the hit may take several forms. Maybe it's like customers are more picky nowadays. They don't just buy products as easily as they used to. Maybe customers are, they're just not as easily convinced, and they go around and check prices with every competitor a lot more than they used to. Or maybe it's just not as easy to find customers, period. Or maybe the customers you do have are buying less product from you. Those are all problems that we can face. Now, I don't say that I'm going to solve their money issues and that you're going to get your customers who don't have enough money to buy more product from you to buy more product. But I do think that if you're in a situation where you're not getting as much money as you'd like, and you're not fully leveraging the power of IT systems and social media, then you're in a position where you still stand to benefit from them in 2 ways. You can either improve your processes, improve your efficiency, and cut costs, or you can increase your customer outreach and, increase revenue. Or both, cut costs and increase revenue at the same time. So I think this is why you should care, because this is really the power of IT systems, the power of websites, the power of mini apps, of social media marketing. This is basically what we offer. So let me get into it with a more concrete, specific example, and I'll show you exactly what it boils down to when I apply this to a real client or real business problems. So to illustrate this, let me showcase to you the business environment of one of our clients. So we had a client come to us who is in the supply chain industry, and they wanted an IT system. They told us they wanted an IT system because it would increase their company valuation, it would make them look a little bit better, and also it could help remediate some internal process issues that they were having. So me and Shamir went to talk to their staff, we talked to their management, and we talked to all of the people there, and we understood the business structure, we understood how everything worked inside their business. And from what we understood, they have a much bigger problem than just some internal process issues. They have a much more core issue at hand. And the IT system we were going to propose them proposes to solve all of the issues that they were having. So let me showcase this to you right now. So our client operates in this market. I'm going to show you the market before I show you the position of our client. So we have end consumers who purchase products on the distributor's platform. Here we have a distributor. He gets products from a manufacturer, packages them, and sells them on his WeChat mini app to consumers. So he sells the product and everybody's happy. Now, the thing is, this distributor, he needs to get his product from a manufacturer. So he aggregates the orders he gets from these consumers. These consumers place orders, he aggregates them, and he pays a manufacturer to deliver the products to him. Sometimes, however, he has so many orders and there's so much volume that he doesn't have the liquidity, he doesn't have enough cash up front to pay for all of the orders. So he needs occasionally to appeal to a third-party financier. So he goes to this company and he brings the very large order, he brings it to them and he says, look, we need you to pay for this order to the manufacturer so that they can deliver us the product. Once the consumers pay us back, we will pay you back. So that's exactly what happens. They pay the manufacturer delivers the product to the distributor sends the product to the consumers pay the distributor, and the distributor then pays the financier back. Now the manufacturer's already been paid, so nothing needs to be done on that front. So this is the overall global market that our client is operating in. Now let me show you the market position of our client. Before I show you the market position of our client, just to show you how weak it is, there's one more thing. The manufacturers have open platforms, so they're not only relying on distributors, they can also appeal to a larger consumer base. Anybody can buy products from the manufacturers directly. Now our client happens to be here in the middle. This is our client right here. They are the middleman between the distributor and the financier. So all they do is they take these orders from the distributor and pass them on to the financier. They ask for money basically for the distributor. So just looking at this diagram, without specifically naming our client, you can see that this company in the middle there would be at a disadvantage in quite a number of ways. And I'll go into it in a little bit. So the first one of these ways is that they're easily replaceable. They're essentially made redundant. If you have a look at this graph, and if I click on here and remove our client from the picture, nothing really changes. They are essentially redundant. The money can still flow from this person to this person. They don't need to be here. In fact, they don't even have a value proposition. All they do is take money from the distributor and charge them a little bit more to get the money from the financier. Both the financier and the distributor would be better off if my client didn't exist. That's their value proposition, and it's an extremely bad one. It's really not advantageous to be in this position, because the distributor, let's say the financier is giving this money out at a 3% interest rate. Now, my client needs to take a little bit of money here in the middle, so he takes a 5% interest rate from the distributor. So the distributor could directly go to the financier and say, hey, look guys, we're the ones who do business with you all the time, and we want a 4% interest rate for the money. Do you agree to that? And these guys, they're currently offering it at a 3% interest. 4% is better for them, and these guys were getting 5%, so 4% is better for them too. So everybody is better off if my client doesn't exist. They're just taking value without adding anything to the equation. In fact, the only reason why they exist in this equation is because my client, these guys here, have an equity stake in this company right here. And that's also part of the next problem that they have. The next problem is, part of the third problem. The next problem is their inefficient processes. So you remember how I told you that our client came to us and they told us that they were experiencing some internal process issues. Well, that's a little bit more complicated than that. It turns out their processes are absolute garbage. It's really, really, really bad. Their processes are completely inefficient. Let me show this to you. So, since our client has no centralized system, all of the communications and all of the documentation is passed through different channels. So if you have a look here, they don't have a little centralized system that they can use to normalize all of the communications. So all of these transactions here actually go through WeChat, QQ, email, phone calls, text messages. There's no one system. So say, for example, the manufacturers who are over here notice that there's a discrepancy in the payment on one of the payments for one of their delivery orders, and it's a payment from last week. These guys get 12 orders a day, and they need to go and backtrack through a log of paper archives for something from last week. You can imagine the number of hours that's going to take. Where is the mistake? Is the mistake between the distributors and our client? Is the mistake between our client and the financiers? Or is the mistake between the financiers and the manufacturers? It's a complete mess. It's just garbage. It takes 3 full-time people to take care of all of the orders from just one distributor. And that's not a huge amount. It's just a huge amount when it's all done by paper and through all of these messy, completely diverse channels. They don't know who's their main customer. They don't know which channel is bringing in the most revenue. They don't know which salesperson is doing the most sales. They could be bleeding money for a whole month straight, and they would only know that they were bleeding money this month because of accounting. They don't have any real-time statistics, they don't have any real-time data, and they have no way of monitoring their business before it's too late. So that is our third problem, obscure business metrics. Now, it also brings us to our next fourth meta problem, which is that without an IT system, this business is virtually impossible to scale. Now, I wrote difficult to scale, but I really want to emphasize how absolutely impossible it is to scale this business without an IT system. Let me show you why. So here we have our client over here in the middle with the little crown, this guy. If he wanted to add more distributors to his network, he has no actual value proposition for these distributors to join his network. All he can say is, well, look, I know a financier in case you need money because you have too large volumes of transactions. Now, this might be the case for distributors. This might actually be something that they need, but they're not the only one offering this. They could go directly to the financier. They could go to a bank. They could go to another financing institution. There's a number of ways that they could just bypass our client and get better rates. So the value proposition is iffy at best. So if these guys don't have access to the information and there's information asymmetry, they can take advantage of the situation. But if these people can just go on the internet and with a simple Baidu search find institutions that are willing to finance them at better rates than our client, they just can't add them to the network. It's just impossible to add these people. And if they can't add more distributors to the network, it's going to be very difficult to convince any manufacturers to come into the network either, because our client doesn't have any relations with manufacturers. Manufacturers have their own system. They sell directly to distributors and they sell directly to consumers. So our client can't even say, well, look, we've got a bunch of manufacturers to the distributors, because that's not actually true. The manufacturers are completely independent from the system. The distributors are still going to have to go individually to every single manufacturer's system to talk to them. They're not going through our client who has a database of all of the manufacturers where they can compare prices. They're still going individually to each manufacturer. So again, no value proposition from our client to the distributors, and the manufacturers don't really care to even know about our client because it has nothing to do with them. Now the third one is if they wanted to add financiers to the network. Now if you wanted to add a financier to the network, you would want to have an enlarged volume of transactions. Right now they only have one financier because they only have one distributor, and the volume of transactions is not enough to justify adding more people to the network, because they're just not going to be interested in this. There's just not enough cash flowing around for it to be worth it for these guys to even pay attention to this market. So there's no way that our client can negotiate getting new financiers in here and having some kind of price point comparison for distributors as as a value proposition to get more distributors. So it's like a vicious cycle. They can't get anything going because there's no value proposition in any of the three corners of the market that our client can provide. So it's impossible to scale it. With the current way they're doing things, they cannot possibly scale this beyond, maybe if they do manage to get 1 or 2 distributors by dumb luck, that would be crazy. It would be insane. But that's just because these guys are being lazy and not doing any research. So without going into too much detail, here we've already figured out 4 incredibly hard-hitting business problems that these guys are facing. They're easily replaceable. They're in a weak market position. They have inefficient as hell processes. They have obscure business metrics and data that does not allow them to scale. And they're just in a position where it's just impossible for them to scale their business. So what they could do is reach out to people, and try and play off of information asymmetry and try and get new distributors, but it's always going to be an uphill battle. They're always going to be fighting against people who actually do a little bit of research and find out that, well, the value proposition is not that good, no thanks. Instead of developing their own system, which is what we're going to be doing for them, developing their own system where they can offer a platform for each and every one of the actors in the market. Now, the value proposition changes dramatically when they offer this. I'm going to show you how. If they create a centralized system, they can have a consumer-facing module, which is a very simple value proposition for the consumer, is, if you come onto our platform here, you can compare prices from manufacturers and distributors. So, it's easy to purchase and you've got also a wide array of choices. So it's better than going directly on the distributor's platform. It's better than going directly on the manufacturer's platform because there's more choice and you're probably going to get a cheaper price. So that's the value proposition for the consumers if they have a consumer-facing module. Now they need to create a distributor-facing module. Now the distributor-facing module is, well, look, here we've got access to this whole customer database, and you can take advantage of this by offering your products on our platform. Also, you can take advantage of having access to all of the manufacturers we've got in our database, because they do have access to several manufacturers. If they include these guys into the database with all the prices, now the distributor doesn't have to go to each manufacturer one by one. He can just check and compare directly inside the platform and make orders directly fast like this, because usually what happens is the manufacturers, they update their prices daily and very late. Now if it's all in one place, it's going to be a lot easier for a distributor to make the best possible decision for purchasing products than if they have to make a bunch of calls and maybe they don't have time before these guys start getting annoyed because they're not getting their products delivered on time. So you've got a value proposition here for the distributors, you've got one for the consumers. Next, you have a manufacturer-facing platform, which is fairly simple. It's, look, you can keep your original system, you don't need to give that up, but you just create an account on our system where you just display your products, and if you get orders from distributors or direct customers, then you can just fulfill these orders, and we're just basically opening a new market up for you. So this is a very, very simple value proposition for them. It's not a very high cost to adopt. All they need to do is create an account on the platform and they'll be listed on there. Very easy for them. It's really not going to be a big deal to negotiate that with them. And then for the financiers, you create also a module on here where the financiers display their financing offers to distributors. So now since this is a system, it's just as easy as creating new accounts for distributors. So getting distributors on board is also going to be a very small ask. You're not asking them to mail you things or, pass you paper contracts, etc. Everything is done inside the system. All they need to do is log in, and then they have access to all of this information. They have access to the financiers, they have access to the manufacturers, and they have access to the customers directly. So the value proposition on all fronts is really there. So if our client manages to keep the costs of this platform minimal and not charge all these people too much, then the cost value of this system is going to tend to where for distributors, for example, well, I could spend, money on hiring staff to contact all of the manufacturers directly and all of the financiers directly, and spend all of this time and money and effort getting the best possible prices that way. Or I could spend just a little bit of money on this platform and get it automatically done for me already without having to spend this extra money. Like, the cost benefit is going to tend towards benefits towards the system. Whereas it wasn't in the case of the client just being the middleman with all of this extra paperwork. These guys need to employ people. These guys need to employ people. My client needs to employ people. Here, the system, everything is automated. And now the network is infinitely scalable. If they want to add more financiers to the network, they just create an account. If they want to add more manufacturers to the network, they just create an account. Distributors, just create an account. It's very, very easy to scale this system. And if they do the marketing properly, they can get a lot of people on board and scale it massively. Whereas it's much more difficult to do this with paper contracts and getting people to sign, non-competition agreements or things like that. So that's how we solved our client's problem. We made them essential in the market. With their new market position, now they are absolutely essential. They're not the person that you're absolutely trying to go around. Now you're actively trying to get into the system because the system is so beneficial for you. They've automated and streamlined all of the processes. They've concentrated and centralized all the metrics. Now they have access not just to their little part of the market for the market data, they have access to the entirety of the market. They can see all of the market data available to them, which if they want to implement any kind of growth strategy is just invaluable. They now can make, informed decisions, whereas previously it was just guesswork. And now they're easily scalable. So why did I give you this example? Well, this example is just an example of why you should care, because this is one business where the case was specifically, especially egregious, but I think every business suffers from inefficiencies at some point. Every business can benefit from optimizing their processes. Every business has a way of placing themselves in a better strategic market position. And a lot of that can often be achieved by either marketing or building systems that allow the business to put itself in that position, that allow the business to take advantage of more efficient processes. And although there's an initial cost involved for developing systems like this, for example, case in point, right? I'll go back to our client. They need roughly 3 sales staff currently to deal with all of the paperwork from just one distributor. So 3 sales staff, we're talking about roughly 7,000 renminbi per month. So 3 sales staff at 7,000 per month, that's 21,000 per month. That's 252,000 renminbi per year just to deal with one distributor. If they kept their current system and they didn't implement any IT solution whatsoever, and they wanted to scale their business, get new distributors on board, because that's how they make their money. They get the distributors on board who need financing and they take a cut of the financing. They would need, for any distributor of the same size as the distributor that's currently there, 3 more sales staff. So let's say they get 3 more distributors on board or 2 more distributors on board. That's an extra 500K in expenses per year. 500,000 renminbi extra per year on top of the 252,000 they're paying now. Now with the IT system, it reduces it so that there's almost no need for anybody to take care of anything. All you need is a customer service person to take care of the odd times where there's something that goes wrong with an order, or they need to backtrack something, etc. So you can just have one sales staff to take care of one distributor. And then that's being generous. You probably can have one sales staff take care of 2 or 3. But being generous, you can have one sales staff take care of all of the business and all of the paperwork for one distributor, because everything is automated. And if there's an error, you know exactly where the error is coming from, because there's only one point where there's human people putting in the information. So if there's only one entry point, you've only got one entry point to check for errors. If there's an error in the system, if there's an error in a contract, that's because it's being entered by this distributor at some point, by the people on the distributor side, and you can just talk to them to fix the issue. You're not talking to 5 or 6 different people trying to figure out where the error was introduced, because everything in the system is streamlined and automated. So Now you're just dealing with one salesperson with one distributor. With the system in place, sure, it's going to cost them 500,000 renminbi to 700,000 to develop a system like this. That's actually the market price, between 500 and 700,000 renminbi to develop a system like this. And it's going to cost them that. But if they're scaling their business, now they have 2 more people that they can either assign for growing their business or taking care of new distributors. Or they can just get rid of the 2 people if they don't want to scale their business, or reassign them to other departments, and now they're saving money. They're saving 150,000 renminbi per year on salary costs, just because it was so vastly inefficient that they were just hiring people to do busy work all the time. And this is actually going to trickle down to the distributors, to the financiers, to the manufacturers. All of these people are not going to need to put in as much labor hours into all of these transactions, because everything is now streamlined and automated. So it's a huge value proposition, not only for you, but you can also, pass down the good things to your clients and to people who you do business with. So we've seen why you should care. Now we're going to have a look at what do we do specifically, technically. What can we do? What service can we provide? So we provide website design and development services. We can develop websites, we can develop native apps, we can develop web apps, we can develop mini apps, we can develop template-based or fully customized sites or apps. It depends on your budget and it depends on what you want. And we obviously deliver everything that is fully mobile, desktop, and tablet responsive. So all of our websites are going to be the same user experience regardless of the device that you're using. And we can also make, if you're a reseller on third-party websites, like for example Shopify, Amazon, Taobao, Etsy, Alibaba, we can also help you set up your store on those sites and just make something really beautiful or something that really converts. It really depends on what you need. We'll tailor everything to your needs, and this is one of the things that we can do. The next thing that we can do are enterprise systems. So fully integrated systems like the system I just talked to you about with our client, where you had different, consumer, supplier, manufacturer, distributor facing modules and a centralized module. We have human resource management, customer client relation management, accounting systems, inventory management systems for supply chain, logistics, shipping, and then a lot of just industry specific systems. Like we will come into your company, we will figure out what your needs are, and we will build a system just for you. We've had systems for patents, for patenting agencies. We've had systems for medical, for hospitals, for medical agencies. We've had systems for people in the finance industry on blockchain, etc., etc., etc. Really anything. We can basically make anything. As long as we get the requirements from you, we can create an architecture to create you a system. And we can take care of anything that is SEO or digital marketing. So up-to-date SEO optimization for websites, apps, your content, market research, competitor analysis, content creation, whether it be text, like articles, blog posts, tweets, business profiles, or if it's video content creation, if you want short form, long form, streams, podcasts, content promotion, all of these things we can do. And I will show you an example for this. This is one of our other clients who had a very interesting story, I guess. So these guys, they came to us in 2024. They actually came up with their business idea in 2020 and they didn't do anything about it. They didn't implement anything in 2020. They sat on their idea for 4 years. Their idea was to create real estate on the blockchain. Now, for the exact specifics of how that is implemented, you're going to have to ask Shamir, because Shamir is the one who really took care of this one. And he knows all the specifics of exactly how it works. I don't. I haven't been on this case, but I know the stats. So in 2020, these guys, they were thinking about, let's do blockchain real estate. In 2024, they learned about our company. They came to us and they were like, well, look, guys, can you create a website for us? We want to make blockchain real estate. So in July 2024, they came to us and we created their, Manage Life website. We came in, we made a really professional website. Their objective was, look, within 6 months, we want to get investor funding. We want to get $2 million in investor funding from, our social media marketing campaigns, from our professional website, and from just talking to people at events, etc. We want to get $2 million in investing. So we started off, after we created the website for them within the month, we started off with the social media marketing campaign. So you probably can't see this, but down here, this is their tweets account, their Twitter account, their X account, where they were getting some really minimal responses in August, like 300 views on their posts. And in their niche, they're in a niche, so 300 views it's cute, but it's not fantastic either. And when we started doing the campaign for them, within a month, we got everything up roughly at least 2,000%. So we went up to like 6,000 views on the regular, 10,000, 20,000 views. We went up really dramatically and really, really fast. And this is the results that they got. So they were at 300 views in August, at the end of August. And within a month, we got them all the way up on a record post of, I think it was 80,000 views, which is really, really good considering that they're a small niche. This is a very small niche of people, so there's not a very, very big audience. So when we're talking about audience penetration, we got almost to like 50% or 60% of the entire audience for this on Twitter. We reached out to them basically, and they know about us. They know about Manage Life, and they know about the product. And this had a really, really good impact on. So you're thinking, well, it's cute. It's only views. It's only views and, comments on Twitters and likes on Twitter. What did that actually get them? Well, you'd be surprised, because we targeted Twitter specifically because of the population that's on Twitter. A lot of Twitter users have a very decent household income, and the conversion rate on Twitter is actually pretty phenomenal. So we got 80,000 views, 10,000 views, 14,000 views, and this actually got a lot of people interested in their product. They had a solid foundation, and they had a really nice website to back it up. So within 3 weeks, they got $5.7 million in investor funding, direct investor funding, $5.7 million. They had us sit on the meetings with them, the investor meetings, and, they had us explain the technicalities. They had Shamir explain the technicalities of how the blockchain real estate concept actually works technically, and they did the rest of the selling for the product. They were phenomenal, but they had a really solid concept. They had a really good, really well executed website, really professional looking, and they had a really well executed social media marketed strategy that piqued the interest of everybody involved, and they got this much funding only within 3 weeks. So their target was $2 million within 6 months, and we got them triple the money in 3 weeks, which is pretty insane results if you're looking at how well it converted. It converted phenomenally. So that's the kind of things that we can do as far as marketing goes. And as far as websites go, if you have a solid concept, and if you have a solid business concept, and you're looking for these kinds of results, that's the kind of things that we can deliver. So I think it's always useful to give people numbers when you're talking to them about what you can do and specific examples. So that was one of them for the websites, for the systems. I think I've shown examples of everything. Now let's go quickly on to part 3, which is how we do it, and this is our process. So the process might be interesting for you in case you were wondering. We do 2 first steps, which are all free. So we offer a free consultation. This is where we're going to sit down with your business, and we're going to talk to you about your business issues. What problems are you facing? Is it something that we can actually fix with IT? Some problems are just not fixable with IT. Some problems are. So possibly if we can fix it with IT, we can figure out a solution of how we're going to fix it, come up with a plan, a strategy, and give you a rundown on these things. Then, if you're interested, we go on and we can show you a free demo. A free demo is basically a visualization of how the system will look if you're looking to develop a system. If you're looking to develop a social media marketing strategy, we'll come up with a free demo, which is just going to be a mock-up of exactly how we're going to go about it, the posts that we're going to do, who we're going to target, why we're going to target them, And then we're going to go for a complete architecture. Once you signed a contract with us, we're going to show you a complete architecture of your system, or a complete business, complete marketing strategy if it's social media marketing. And then we're going to go on to development. Now, development, this is for systems, obviously. It's for social media marketing strategies. We're just going to start posting at this point. But for development, for systems, for websites, for apps, this is what we do. We start with agile development. Agile, it just refers to the project management technique that we use, which is a modular approach. We're going to develop all of your systems modularly. So we're going to start with, for example, if we go back to our client system, we started off with a client-facing module. That's the first module in the system. We create a mini app and we show you the mini app, and you can test it out and you can tell us what you like, what you don't like. We amend it, and then once you're really happy with that part of the system, we let it be and we go on to the next part of the system, and the next part, and the next part, and the next part, and we just build it like Legos, and then we integrate everything together, and we go on to testing and launch. Once everything is perfect, once you like the whole system, and we've talked to all of the relevant parts, let's say, for example, you want a fully integrated ERP for your organization, which includes accounting, which includes HR, which includes client relations, then we're going to talk to your sales department, we're going to talk to your HR department, to your accounting department, and once each of these departments is actually very happy with the system that we're developing, because they're the ones using it, then we go on to testing and launch. If it's actually going to improve their productivity, because that's really the point of a system, is to make all of the processes more efficient. So if your employees think that this is actually not going to help them in any way, then that's not something that we're going to do. We're only going to implement things that make your current processes better and help your current staff do better, do it faster. And then once everybody's happy with all of the modules and the fully integrated system is showcased to you, we're going to test it. We're going to do stress tests, security tests, and full use case testing. So from the perspective of every single actor inside the system, we're going to do full use case testing, and then we launch the product once everything is ready. And that's it for today, guys. I'm really happy that you were here to watch this presentation and to listen to us speak. I really appreciate you coming, and I hope to see you again. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. We're both here to answer any questions or queries you have. And thank you again for coming and listening to us. Bye-bye.